All right, so let's move forward here. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Joseph Washington, and I'm the chair of the Iota Phi Foundation. Excuse me, I'm the chair of the Iota Phi Financial Literacy Committee, and I want to welcome you to this workshop this evening. And I want to thank you for your support as well as continued support and entrusting in me as well as this organization to assist you with these important matters when it comes to talking about money. And tonight we're going to do the topic of money matters, manage your mind, manage your money. This will be an engaging session, so please be prepared to place yourself on video and unmute your mic during the QA presentations or portions of the presentations. I've worked in corporate America for more than 35 years in the refining and marketing and chemical distribution space, as well as financial services industries. I've also had the great fortune to be an entrepreneur and have created several small businesses. One of these businesses is the Goal Planner, which I started with a couple partners and myself back in 2009. And in 2011, we birthed a workbook called the Family Goal Planning Guide and Workbook as a byproduct of having to work out of a six-figure financially failed business. Since that time, we've had the great fortune and pleasure to sell books all across the United States and Canada over the past 14 years of talking with and learning from individuals, situations, and circumstances as it relates to money, as well as my corporate experiences. This is what's going to help frame some of the things that you're going to hear from me today. I hold a Bachelor's of Science degree from Winston-Salem State in computer science and a master's degree in business with a focus in marketing and management from Morehead State University. I've also attended various professional as well as financial programs at Indiana University, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and Carnegie Mellon University. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen with you and pull up presentation that we have for tonight. Let's see. All right, let me know if everybody can see my screen. Oops, that just went away. My bad. Hold on. I had it and clicked the wrong button. All right, let me try that again. Let me stop sharing and I'll come right back. All right, let me try this one more time. All right, what about now?
You're good, Joe.
Okay, got it. All right.
Yes.
So we've gone through that, but today we're going to talk about goal planning, financial management, and budgeting. Again, just at the onset of this, and and I'll just do about 20 minutes into this to talk about this subject, but then we're going to really kick it over into the panel where we're going to really dig into the meat and the heart of the subject matter that we're talking about, which is money matters, master your mind, master your money. But it's going to have a subtitle or subtopic within that is the income and wealth gap between Black and white America, because that is really the tipping point or the spear of what we're trying to really get to, not only inside of what we're doing here tonight, but within our community. So, but the thing that tips everything off or really starts the foundation are these three things here: goal planning, financial management, and budgeting. So let me move through this very quickly, and then we can see where we're going. So as a disclosure, again, all of the comments as well as handouts that are presented here today, they are the property of myself and the Goal Planner .llc. So again, I'm not a financial planner, or I'm not a first certified financial planner. So we will not be discussing anything that deals with stocks or investment strategies or anything like that. So nothing to worry about from that perspective. So don't expect me to give you advice around that. If you probably want advice around that, maybe when Brother Curtis Randall is speaking because he is a licensed financial planner. Maybe we can speak. He can speak from that perspective. But our goal for today is to provide a framework for understanding responsible stewardship, which is, again, some of the things we talked about around financial management and budgeting. So I'm going to keep moving down. So goal planning, let's jump into that. We goal plan in all aspects of our lives. I mean, so you can see, the different places and spaces where we produce plans, and it's pretty much everywhere. So, there's really no opportunity to where you can't goal plan and set aspirational opportunities within every space of where you work, live, as well as operate. And why set goals? We set goals to provide, again, the long-term vision and short-term motivation. So you put the goal out there for the long term, then you put action steps to make those short-term opportunities a reality. And again, why do we set goals? It focuses the acquisition of knowledge as well as organizes your time and resources to achieve desired results. Again, it's very simple around why you want to do it, but we all know sometimes the simple things can be a little more difficult because you have to, I call it, build a muscle like you go into the gym. You won't be, a perfect specimen by going to the gym 2 times, and then all of a sudden all your muscles are popping out. It doesn't work like that. So again, goal planning and goal setting is all about finding that foundation and then leveling yourself off of that foundation day after day after day of discipline to be able to push forward. So again, that's why we set goals. And what is goal planning? Goal planning is the process or event or effort required to achieve your desired results. And again, very straightforward, but to put in practice a little bit, sometimes can be a little bit more challenging around that whole aspect. But again, you're looking for a desired results. Therefore, that's the reason why you goal plan. All right, let's move it down. And what we'll do is let me get through some of kind of the majority of this presentation. I'll say if you have any questions, let's take those questions and kind of just jot them down because I will have a QA opportunity as soon as I kind of go through these 15 or 20 slides, and then we'll.
Oh, you're welcome. Not a problem.
All right, so I had to mute somebody. So here we go. So the benefits of regular goal planning are the following. It allows for a sense of direction. It provides a common and unified set of goals, not only for yourself, but so that if you're communicating those things, other people will also be able to understand what they are. It allows you to increase your communication between yourself and anybody else. And like on point 5, that somebody else could be your accountability partner. As well as it focuses you on something that's agreed upon. And some people say, well, I'm going to agree upon it with myself. Yeah. First, you have to make sure you yourself are ready to tackle that task. And then, of course, if you communicate that out, or if you're just a very strong-willed person, you will just you say, hey, I'm going to get up today and I'm going to go to the gym. Or I'm going to get up today. I'm going to, go into my prayer closet. Or I'm going to get up today. I'm going to do whatever, right? So it has to happen day in and day out. It has to be focused. And last but not least, again, having somebody there, a partner or a family member to hold you accountable for the things that you said you want to do. It's always important. Best practices for goal planning. And the number one and key thing is you have to write it down. If you don't write it down, your ideas, your mind is fleeting, right, wrong, or indifferent. It will tell you, yes, this is what you want to do, but unfortunately, you will be doing something else because our minds are just, they allow us to, do what we want to do. Sometimes in goal planning, it's not comfortable. So write your opportunity down so that you are very clear about what you're trying to do, so that a week from now, a month from now, a quarter from now, or half a year from now, or whatever, you can come back to that point and say, yes, I achieved my goal because I wrote it down and I knew what it was, and it was concrete. Again, develop an action plan around that goal that you write down, and make sure it is sustainable and consistent. And you're like, well, how do I make sure it's sustainable and consistent? Well, you use point number 3. You make that goal a SMART goal, which stands for specific, measurable, attainable. It should have some reach to it, and make sure it's time bound. So make sure you put a date and a time against it. So use that SMART acronym to set your goals. Excuse me. 4th, here, whole progress meeting. So make sure you have a check-in with either, checking in with yourself to say, hey, did I meet what I said I was going to do? Or if you're just feel like, hey, I'm not enough on myself, I need somebody to kind of hold me accountable, find you an accountability partner to help you make sure you tackle your goals and you stay on track with those. And last but not least, remain focused and disciplined around your approach. And you probably heard me use those words a couple of times already, because those things are super important when it comes to goal planning and goal setting. All right. Again, my belief on a prioritized lifestyle is these things. And this is the workbook that I have, my partners and I have. These are the things that come out about it. So it allows you to have, an active, strong faith. It allows you to have a healthy family. It allows you to manage your finances. It allows you to fulfill your future aspirations, as well as your fitness and health goals. And last but not least, to goal plan allows you to have relaxation and fun, so that you just don't blow up and implode with all the other things that happen within your life. And again, with these things in balance, that should lead to a more intentional focus, as well as discipline and balanced life. And again, somebody could say, well, I don't think I have all 6 of these things in my life. Well, if you have them in your life, if not necessarily do you prioritize them, but if you prioritize these 6 things, they will balance your life and make you have a very fulfilled one. Let's move on to the next slide. Again, I'm hustling through these slides pretty quickly because I think many of you have heard some of my presentation in the past around some of these topics. I know others haven't, but we can definitely get into some questions if you have any when I get done here. So successful goal planning, what does it look like and what does it feel like? It is developed with specific intent and purpose, again, for assisting individuals and families to not only set what they do, but something to aim towards, and then to allow you to achieve measurable results. And again, it's all about, again, obtaining and achieving the measurable results that you set for yourself. All right. So that's goal planning. Let's step into financial management here, just to make sure we're level setting ourselves around what financial management is before we get into budgeting. So financial management, again, sort of kind of big words, could be a little nebulous for some, but it's pretty simple. It's just talking about the efficiency and effectiveness of management of money or funds in such a manner as to accomplish something that is specific about your life. And again, when we're able to get to a space in each one of our individual lives where we have effective financial management, and that means we have our debt managed. That means we are able to do some of the things that we want to do and not just have to do. And that means we have financial freedom. We're able to do what that arrow has below it. We're able to do and be an economic engine, as well as an economic empowerment engine for our communities, ourselves, and our families. So again, that is just the definition of financial management in a nutshell. All right, let's move down a little bit and talk a little bit about some of the personal financial goal planning things that you have to do to keep your house in order. Let's look at the things on the left. Again, for strengthening your credit worthiness, pay your bills on time. Again, eliminate and keep all of your credit balances low. If not, if you can, keep them all the way down. Know and maintain your credit history. And I know some of these things, one of our panelists, Everett Warwick Love, he will potentially bounce into some of these things and talk about it because that's his specialty around what he does. So we'll get into that, or Everett, if you have questions, if you have questions, maybe for during this time, Everett, you can step in at the right space and really talk about a lot of this credit stuff. Again, lower the number of applications for credit. And again, so that's not bouncing around and just saying, hey, let me just keep doing inquiries for credit, because that will hurt your credit score. And last but not least is balance the types of credit that's on your report and that you have. So again, keeping everything within focus, as well as that's balance, will help you keep a strong credit score. And again, what you need to also do is grow your emergency fund, because your emergency fund is your lifeline. And what I say, and again, this is just Joe Washington's rule of thumb, is a savings between 6 and 9 months of expenses. Because if you have that, you can survive a rainy day, right? You can survive really a blizzard, because usually between 6 and 9 months, whatever situation you're in, if you're really diligent about it, you can typically work yourself out of it if you have some buffer to do it. And 6 to 9 months is a pretty adequate buffer. Decide where you want to keep your funds. And again, sometimes I don't trust the banks, or, hey, I don't understand, all this investment vehicle, so I'm just going to put it under my mattress. Probably not the best thing. But again, you have to decide how you want to manage your finance or finances. So again, I'm not here to tell you how to do it. I'm here to make some recommendations so that you can take things away, so that you can employ the things that you want to employ in your life, so that you can make it a more fulfilling opportunity. Um, treat paying yourself like it's a bill. So pay yourself first, as if it's auto pay. So anything that you're about to do, make sure before you pay your electric, bill, or your cell phone, or your mortgage, make sure you include yourself in that at the top of that pecking order, so that you can save adequately. And the last two here is use only your emergency fund for truly emergencies. So it's not, I wanted to go get a new handbag, or I wanted to go get that new pair of shoes, or I saw something, new electronic device that was kind of cool. I want to go get that. No, your emergency fund is not built for that. So again, be prudent around how you use your emergency fund. And last but not least is take it slow. Rome wasn't built overnight, and nor were your finances. So understand that slow, methodical growth is the way to go. Any type of get rich quick opportunity is probably a scheme, and it doesn't work like that. So just know that methodical growth is where you should be striving for. So let me move forward, because time is running short. Think about savings and prioritize them in this order. Your retirement account. Again, if you have 401ks or 403bs or whatever, if you have companies that match, make sure you fulfill the 100% of the match, because that's free money. So take a part of that. Again, rainy day fund. So we talked about emergency fund. Also have a rainy day fund. If you get a flat tire, or something happens around the house, the plumbing, something, get a hole in your kitchen sink or whatever, have a little bit to be able to not be able to tap your emergency fund, as well as not to be able to take yourself, into a space where you have to go and rely on your credit cards. Again, just have a slush fund there, and again, keep it where you need it, and make sure it's able to, I call it liquid, so you can get to it whenever you need it. Again, we talked about the emergency fund, so I'm not going to go into that anymore. And again, after tax Roth IRA, and again, Roth IRAs right now, as of this year, they've increased the max to $7,000 per year. And if you're over the age of 50, you can put in 8,000. So again, IRAs are very good, because they're after-tax dollars that are working for you. And so once you put it in, anything that it makes after that is yours. So let's keep moving down. College savings, 529, and other investments. And then last but not least is stocks and bonds. So again, stocks and bonds is at the bottom of the list. So that is after you've become very financially savvy, and become very fiscal with your money. If you have stuff left over, that is where I call it the spoils go. All right. So let me keep moving down. So last but not least is budgeting. And budgeting, again, I'm reminded of my father when I was just a young kid, and he's gone on to glory now. But he used to tell me, "Boy, do you think money grows on trees?" And and of course, I'm sure a number of you have probably heard somebody maybe state that in your life as well. But no, money doesn't grow on trees. So we have to set budgets in order to make sure we live within our means. And what is a budget? It's just a plan. It's a plan for future income and expenditures, and it gives you a guideline for building savings as well as spending. And any type of responsible, personal as well as family budgeting is going to be critical in your life in order to move it forward. So let me move forward and talk a little bit about the 50-30-20 rule, which is kind of a standard rule for budgeting. And again, if you or don't have a budget and you would like maybe a worksheet or whatnot, I can provide. If you guys just after it's over, send me an email, and I think everybody who's on the call tonight, for the most part, unless you registered after we'll say noon today, I sent you the link, the fraudulent link that made you me. So you have my email. So email me if you need a budget worksheet, and I'll send you one over from the Goal Planner. And it will help you, again, live down through these rules of budgeting. So, again, you have to look at money after tax. And again, after tax is really take home. So, think of it as take home. So, that's not gross. It is after all your things have been taken out and what you bring home. So, limit your needs to 50%, limit your wants to 30%, and basically save the rest, whether that's in some form of savings or some form of debt repayment. And you say, okay, what's debt repayment? Well, it's what it sounds like, you know. And again, that's revolving debt repayment. So again, your needs would probably be inside of your mortgage, so that will be there. So any type of credit cards or any other things like that will fall into the debt repayment opportunity, school loans and things of that sort. Okay, so let's move down here real quickly. Again, not expecting you to be able to read this, but a budget is just really made up of a few different portions of things. Again, we talked about income, which is here, upper right-hand corner. So all the different sources of income that you have, whether it can be your standard, 9 to 5 grind, or it could be your side hustle, or it could be, if you have a spouse that's working, or if you have a partner that's working, that falls up underneath, income for household. And as you can see, the income opportunities are limited because the expenses outweigh all of that. So the rest of the stuff in the white are opportunities for you. I call it to get in trouble, right? Those are opportunities to spend money. So you have to, at the end of the day, come out under the grand total of where your total income is going to eclipse your total expenses. And if it doesn't, that means you're going to be in the red for the month. And if you're in the red for the month, that means you're borrowing from somewhere or somebody in order to make your life whole for that month or that quarter or that year. So, but again, this is a monthly budget worksheet. If you need it, reach out to me via email, and I will be able to supply you with one after this session. So, just a couple of slides here that are left, and again, Oliver Wendell Holmes stated it as so. Again, a mind stretched by a new idea can never return to its original dimension. So, what I'm hoping that will happen tonight for the folks that are on this call that haven't really heard much about goal planning and goal setting and budgeting, as well as financial management, hopefully something is going to be shared with you this evening that allows you to stretch your mind so that you will move yourself forward. And again, for the folks that are continuing to try to do the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results, which is Albert Einstein, that is the definition for insanity. So understand, if you want change, you probably have to make change. Okay. So that's pretty much it. I will open it up for a few questions for about a minute or two before we dive directly into our panel. Okay. All right. It's nice and quiet. So I would assume we have no questions. So panelists, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop sharing. Well, before I stop sharing, I'm going to scroll down here and let the panelists introduce themselves. But before that, let me spotlight everybody. Hold on, give me 1 second. I want to make sure. So I should be spotlighted here. Um, okay, got him. Everett, let me spotlight you. Whoa, I hit the wrong button. Everett, where are you, buddy? So we got Conrad. Yep. All right. So let me get Warner. Let's make sure you're at a spotlight, and then Curtis. Let me find Curtis on the list. So I just want to get everybody so that as the panelists are speaking, you guys can see them. Yeah, there's Curtis right there. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's jump into now the kind of the heart and meat of the panelists, and let's talk to them for just a moment. But before we talk to them, I would like for the panelists to go through and introduce themselves, and let's just do it based on what's on the screen. So Curtis, we'll have you go first, and then Conrad, you next, Warner, and then last but not least, Everett for yourself, just so that this esteemed group here can know who you are. Okay.
Greetings, brothers. My name is Curtis Randall L. I am for Zeta Phi 2001, pledged in the 10th District, Indiana University, former college ball player, moved to Pittsburgh for grad school, and I'm an MS in law, MBA, and have been working in banking and investments for the last 20 years and decided to start my own firm, Randall L Private Wealth Management. We're 12 years in now. And I am an active member of Iota Phi, a former KF, and also active member on the Q Tour, which is our golf tour. So there you go.
All right, Conrad.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Conrad Hampton, founder of Hampton Positive Thinking Therapy. I'm currently a mental health outpatient specialist that has specialized working in mindfulness and also culturally relevant information to help emancipate the mind and rewrite the code. So, also published author of two books entitled Soulful Expressions Anthology as well as Soulful Insertions Anthology Point Two, and pledged to Beta Chapter 1993, and currently a member of Iota Phi. Other than that, glad to be on the panel, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Conrad. Warner.
Good afternoon, everyone. Warner Macklin III here, founder and chairman of the board of Fox Chase Advisors LLC, boutique global professional services firm. Please excuse my setting. I'm doing triple duty. So after I'm done with this panel, I'm giving a speech to a few hundred people on the politics and the economy. I serve on a few corporate boards, nonprofit boards, chair of the Finance and Endowment Committee for the Carnegie Institute, and the financier for the Tree of Life. And I'm happy to be here. And I was a former. I just rolled off the Federal Reserve Bank's corporate advisory council. So my expertise is economy, global economies, and the Federal Reserve Bank. So I look forward to participating with you all. And I pledge Iota Phi fall of 23.
Thank you, Everett.
All right, everybody doing? My name is Everett Ward. Love. I am founder and CEO of Visionary Credit Consultants, where our vision is to repair, restore, and leverage your credit report. I have helped multiple hundreds of people work on their credit report as far as removing negative items, building credit. We offer different services such as trade lines, ebooks, different mentoring services, different different services. I pledge Fall 13 Upsilon Theta I am currently a member of Iota Phi chapter, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm here for you.
All right. Well, thank you, brothers, for your nice introductions. And let's do this. Let's just jump straight in on this topic around the African American income and wealth gap. And again, the racial income and wealth gap between blacks and white households. And so, let me just give the audience just a little bit of we'll say metrics or a little bit of data around where we are to help level set and build a foundation for some of the discussions that we're gonna walk through tonight. So the gap between black and white households is really stark. I mean, really stark. So there was the research that came back is the median wealth of households with white households is about $250,000, which is 10 times the median income of a black household, which is about $25,000. I mean, to me, it blows my mind. But again, we have to understand where we are in order to move ourselves forward. Again, here's another stat. For every $100 in wealth held by a white household, a black household holds $15. Again, staggering. Asset ownership, the racial gap again between blacks and whites from a household perspective. White households were 1.8 times more likely to own their home than blacks, which is about 70% of whites own a household versus only 39% of blacks. From a retirement perspective, retirement account perspective. Again, white households were about 1.5 times more likely to own a retirement account with a median value of 4.3 times larger than a black household or black retirement account. Again, income gap. Again, white household or white individual, I should say, makes about $69,000 or $70,000 per year versus a black individual, which is about $52,000 a year. Even from a household debt, unsecured debt is about 61% versus 53.4%. And again, I can keep going on and on and on. But so rather than just talking about the racial gap, let's just also talk about the gender gap, because there's also a gender gap that's going on that we're going to have to also within our communities do something about. And again, the income and wage gap between women and men. So a woman makes about 81 cents on the dollar of what a man makes. And the gap is smaller for younger workers ages 25 to 34 because the gap is only 95 cents on the dollar. So we're improving with the younger age demographic. However, we still have a lot of baby boomers and generation my generation or whatever still in the market and working. So we still have some ways to go. So with that being said, I'm not going to keep driving and diving in anymore because I think you guys get it and understand what's happening here and what we need to try to tackle. So let's just do this. Let's jump straight in. And Conrad, I know when you introduce yourself from a mental perspective, because we want to talk a little bit about that, the psychology and philosophy of spending. So let's get into a little bit of this conversation. And I know when we were doing a little prep, we talked about the John Henryism, right? And John Henry, of course, everybody knows the fable of John Henry and him working himself and all that. But so Conrad, let's talk about the philosophy and the psychology of how and why people spend. So if you can just kind of take us into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. Thank you so much for the introduction. In recent years, the concept of mindfulness has basically transcended the boundaries of mental and emotional well-being in the impact of areas of financial and personal finance. So, as you mentioned in your intro, that John Henryism, in mindfulness and also psychological terms in the Afro-American community, is a high-effort coping skill rooted in determination and resilience. So, using positive psychology, we can see it's a benefit. However, the detriment is if we don't understand what we're looking for, what the value of wealth is, and how we can be mindful on impulse buying rather than long term spending and objective savings, then we need to understand that psychology has a lot to do with what we spend and how we spend, and also how we save. So, again, a couple key points. Afro Americans should always be aware of the active coping skills that they need and the effect it has on both mental and physical health. So, as you said, is it impulse buy just to satisfy what? Peel that onion back. What are you trying to satisfy? Where is the origin of wealth? Is it about value or is it about status? So, what are you investing in? And also, we have to look at what you said earlier that yes, Afro Americans have to work twice as hard to achieve success, only to face medical challenges such as John Henryism. So, the origin of John Henryism is very important because with Afro American, it denotes the seriousness of high effort coping because the long story short, yes, he beat the manufactured steam engine, but he died in the process afterwards. So we have to put a value on mindfulness on what wealth is, what investments are, or we might win the race but die in the process and have no gain. So early studies found that there's a significant association with low socioeconomic status and hypertension. So if we understand that some of those gaps actually cause a manifestation of psychosomatic stressors like hypertension or burnout, and if you really back it up, it actually was John Henryism first. So it went from John Henryism to burnout to now a gentle hypertension, which takes the ethnicity out of the originality of where it came from. So we have to understand it's about resilience and determination. However, it has to come in balance with our morals, our standards, and our investment processes. So other than that, we should never look at certain things without deciding what the value and the cost is. So a wise carpenter once said, "Why build a barn if you don't know what the cost is? Because a fool might look back and say you didn't finish the project." So we have to look at also biblically and scripturally, look at how we're tracking our spending, what we're spending it for, and what's the ultimate conclusion and growth process that we're trying to gain. Is it for the generations of next generation? Or is it for selfish gain? Mindfulness in finances.
All right. All right. That is deep. There's a lot there to absorb. So what we're going to do, we'll stay with you, Conrad, and hit us one more time. Now, I know you've done a lot of research around, again, the wealth gap
Yeah,
and just the philosophy of men and women and, minorities or African American and white. So is there any, again, from a psychology and philosophy perspective, can you give us a little bit, of an angle of maybe why some of different cultures or different races or different genders operate slightly different?
absolutely. It really comes down to almost nature nurture aspect because each one that you mentioned, if we're looking at culturally relevant and culturally sensitive information, there are coping mechanisms that are only passed down by those that are in that family of origin. So a lot of times we say we want that Cadillac, and I know we're talking to certain generations because we saw that was a status of wealth. Really? Or was that a ill-gotten investment to substantiate a undermining egocentric situation? Hmm. So we really need to understand if we're just looking at are we determined enough to work hard enough to get it done, or are we actually responding to a stressor to fulfill a need that has not been resolved? mindfulness. What is the reason or the definition of wealth as it comes to a cultural perspective? Are we trying to gain something that has not been received previously from another generation, which is the generational gap of wealth? Or are we trying to obtain education, wisdom, and knowledge to make investments for the future by tracking daily spending, looking at our credits, and continuing to learn and grow by taking courses like this so we can learn to understand how we can incorporate mindfulness meditative practices like deep breathing before we make an investment? Or how about let's take 24 hours to think about it and I'll get back to you. And even get back to immediate gratification versus long term gain. What's the overall interest rate I would gain if I left it in my bank account? Do we think that far? Do we peel that onion back? Do we think about, is this going to affect my retirement? Hmm. What you do now in 1 to 3 years is going to affect you 5 to 7 down the road. The decisions you make today will affect you tomorrow. So that's mindfulness.
All right. That's good stuff. That is great stuff. So let's continue to kind of anything else that you want to part to the group here around this topic. Again, cultural awareness as well as psychology and philosophy.
Well, I think you hit a couple good things, Joe. We need to look at our own economic engine. So if we're regularly practicing mindfulness from our cultural perspective, we can actually create the ability to resist spending temptations, leading to increased savings. So, in conclusion, if you want to look about it, being mindful about our financial goals and gains as a community, as well as the steps it will take to retain that finance in the community, we need to reach out and understand what motivates ourselves first. Again, mindfulness, and then prioritize savings over spending.
All right. All right, just correcting that, and we're good to go now. I think, can everybody now see all four panelists? Because at one point I couldn't find Conrad on my list, but I think we're good now. All right, so that was very good. So Conrad, thank you very much for stepping into that. Let's move, because we have at least we have three others here that I want to throw some questions over to. So Curtis, let's move to you, and let's talk about this in from this perspective. Again, Curtis is a professional around investing, but I want to, again, we're talking about this wealth gap, and we know what happened many years ago with Black Wall Street, right? And so many of us, we think that Black Wall Street was only Tulsa, Oklahoma, that where it happened, but we had many Black Wall Streets. And they were in Jackson Ward in Richmond, Virginia, as well as in Haiti town, or I guess Haiti town, which was a small spot in Durham, North Carolina, as well as within Sweet Auburn in Atlanta, Georgia. So, but again, all of these towns were decimated by either the Klan or by white supremacy, so that they would not be able to thrive because they were on the move, and our race was trying to do something, right? Do something very positive. So Curtis, can you maybe talk to us a little bit about, from that concept of the Black Wall Street, talk to us a little bit about, again, where or what are some of the most important things or opportunities that you can share with this audience that will help them to secure their futures, particularly when it comes to the investment space?
Right. I appreciate you, Joe. Here's what I'll say. Michael Wilson is probably one of the most respected U.S. equity chiefs. He works for Morgan Stanley. Got a chance to meet him. Great strategist. He predicted a 16% rally for the S&P index over the next year based on strong corporate earnings. We've seen it in 24. We've seen it in 23, double-digit returns. I'm reading the article. It goes on to say the U.S. equity strategy expects the benchmark to trade around 7,800. Right now, if you know, S&P is around 6,600. So 7,800 at the end of 2026. One of his quotes is, "We're in the midst of a new bull market and earnings cycle," which kind of blows your mind because we just had two double-digit returns in the equity market. So what we're looking at here is we have to figure out how to close this gap. But the one solution I would say is stock market participation and long-term investing. That's one solution. We have to go there. I'm gonna give you a few metrics. Joe mentioned some of this, but I'm gonna go into it. This is from an African American wealth gap issue. We're looking at white households versus African American households. You go to an advisor, we're going to try to give you your net worth. Okay, that's your assets minus your liabilities. Gives you your net worth. The median net worth for white households, 188,000. The median net worth for African American households in 2025 is 24,000. Okay. Stock market participation is over 72%. Um, for African Americans, it's 55%. Monthly savings, something Conrad was speaking of, mindfulness savings and investments for white households, $700. For African American households, $393. And then the likely way of inheriting wealth from white households is 51%, and for African Americans is 23%. So I'm going to go through two things where I believe short solutions, quick solutions where we can actually get involved right away. Retirement plans, that's the gateway to savings. So if you have a retirement plan, I am encouraging you to max out contributions, take full advantage of retirement plans. For you entrepreneurs, solo business owners, it's the solo 401k, it's the SEP IRA. If you have employees, it's the simple IRA. But that's how you also get stock market participation. The other thing that we can do is build trust with financial institutions, which has been an issue. Um, we have seen that some of these institutions have barriers. Uh, I've talked to some African Americans that just don't feel like they're respected when they go into these places, so they just won't deal with them at all. So finding one that works. Ariel Schwab tends to go that route. A firm like myself, working with African Americans is one step I take. And then demystifying investing. I'm gonna recommend a practical step of setting up a low cost brokerage account. Again, buying ETFs and spreading your risks. That's it. That's how we have to start to close the gap. That's just one of maybe two solutions, but stock market participation is how we're going to do this. I have so many people that are missing out on double digit returns in the market um, for whatever reason it is, but we got to get in and stay in for the long term. Go ahead, Joe.
All right, Curtis. I think we've heard it and heard it pretty much loud and clear. So thank you very much. I am trying to pull the or trolling the chat, and there was something in the chat here from one of the participants that says, "Don't forget to talk about FHAs and HSAs." So health savings accounts and things of that sort. Hey, Kurt, is that something maybe you can touch on a little bit, or is that maybe not in your?
Absolutely. He just touched on one of the and Joe, you learned that when we worked at PNC, the six strategic transactions, right? And I may go eight. The number one strategic transactions, which you talked about, saving and investing. Number two is home ownership. Number three is creating a will. Number four is insurance. Number five is what Everett's going to talk to us about, which is credit, improving your credit, and that's working on that daily. Number six is a profitable business, and then you have the FHAs and the HSAs that your corporation may offer. Please take advantage of those, especially when we see, Joe, that the healthcare subsidies have been taken away, and you have individuals with 30 and 40% healthcare premiums now. It's killing retirees, and I work with a million retirees, so it's one of those things where if you have that, it will help. But those six strategies or eight strategies is what I will speak to.
Absolutely. Okay. And thank you, Curtis, for that, because that answers directly to one of the attendees' questions. So All right, let's keep it moving because we are now at about 10 minutes till. So let's get down into the next opportunity here. And let me do a little lead in around this subject as we talk about operations and we talk about credit and some other different things of that sort. So we're going to focus on Everett. And again, I'm just going to speak for myself. I don't think there are very many times that I sat down with my parents around our dinner table when I was a kid and we talked about credit, right? Or we talked about what the finances were in my parents' household, because they would have probably told me if I'd asked them, boy, you need to step back. This is grown folk business and you're not in it, right? And that's just how it works. So again, the lack of credit acumen as we are growing up and developing ourselves and credit knowledge, because it's not really taught very well within our families or family structure. It's now showing, right? It's showing many, many, many years and generations later, it's showing as a deficiency. And again, from an operational standpoint, we have to get ourselves in a space where we are now more knowledgeable about what credit is and how it is used for us and how it is used against us. So Everett, I'm going to hit you with a couple of things here around what can you do, or we do, not you do, but we do. What can we do as trouble avoidance opportunities, or what can we do to eliminate mistakes? So won't you give us, maybe five major things of things that we can do and five major things of things that we should not do to avoid some of these pitfalls?
Okay. And before I go into that, I think you missed a couple stats earlier. So let's just talk about the stat of America and then with Black America. So America, FICO average score is about 715 as far as 2025. Now, when they say America, this doesn't show the racial gaps that are in America. So if you look at the majority of Black communities, the median of their credit score is a 582. And this is almost 100 points off of almost 150 points actually off of what is America's average median score. So it's definitely not taught in the households. And then 40% of Black Americans do not even have a personal credit card, don't even have credit. So it's many different things that we can do to improve our credit and things that we can do to avoid. So the first thing is definitely just create financial awareness, like understanding your credit report. It's different free tools you can do, freecreditreport.com. Experian. And when I say your credit score, your credit report, I'm talking about your FICO 8 credit score, because you want to know the difference. Because these free apps that we have and Credit Karma and some of these free apps, they use Vantage 3.0 score, which is not your most accurate score. It's a summary of your scores. And so definitely know your credit report, keeping any credit card under 10% utilization. And that's definitely easier said than done. But credit card debt is one of the worst debt that you can be in. So you definitely want to get out of debt as easy as you can, but you don't necessarily want to just close all your credit cards or anything like that. You want to definitely find ways to minimize your debt. And that can be the snowball effect. That can be open non-interest credit cards, 12 to 18 months. Another thing, automate your bills. A lot of times we make emotional financial decisions. So automating your bills and having your bills on automation where you know this is going to come out every month and you don't have to worry about, do I want to pay this or do I want to go out or do I want to, pay for something else? So definitely automating your bills is good. Knowing simple things is such as your due date and your statement date, knowing the difference between that. And that's knowing on your credit cards, when is an item due and what is your statement date? And the statement date is when a balance of that credit card is reported to the credit bureaus. So that goes into your utilization. Because Joe, earlier, the five things that you talked about are the five elements of your credit, which is 35% payment history, 30% utilization, 15% the mix of accounts you have, such as credit cards, loans, 10%, which is inquiries, and then 15%, which is history. And then lastly, know these new AI tools. Like AI is here to come and it's here to stay. And you definitely want to learn how to fix your credit because you can use them tools to help you with your credit, to know about why are they having this on your credit report? How can I fight this collection on your report? So that's a couple of things you want to do. A couple of things you want to do. A couple of things you don't want to do, and I think things you want to avoid. Avoid ignoring your credit. A lot of people don't know bad credit is more expensive to have than good credit. So having good credit is very important. Never miss a payment. Like I said, 35% of your score is based just off payment history. That's the easiest way to drop your score is payment history. Emotional purchasing, like I said, utilization. Definitely don't want to keep any utilization high because that's have your credit cards. Never take a cash advance on any of your credit cards. This is one of the most highest transactions you can make, and it's very risky. So you definitely want to take no money out on your credit cards. Also, avoid co-signing and mixing different finances. Mixing finances that are permanently that could be that is not permanently. So you definitely don't want to be, co-signing on this car and then they late payments or just adding different credit cards, adding different authorized users to your credit cards that can use your credit. So those are a few things that you should avoid when you're working on your credit.
All right, Everett, that's a pretty exhaustive list. I had a few other questions, but I think you rolled pretty much everything into the things that I wanted to make sure we talked about. You rolled it all into that nice encapsulated response. So maybe there's one other thing, and sort of you talked about this, and again, avoidance or not paying attention or not reacting to your credit, right? Knowing that you have some blemishes and just saying, "Oh, I'm not going to worry about it," right? I think you talked a little bit about what that does to your credit because it's going to continue to credit your credit, right? But
Yeah.
is there anything that we can do? Again, talking about the philosophy as well as the psychology of these decisions that we're making. Is there anything else that maybe we can do? And you talked about using AI. Maybe that's the answer I'm trying to give. I'm trying to, will be to what I'm trying to say, because what can we do to make sure we're not constantly falling into those, traps?
Okay, well, I can kind of just give you 5 steps, but first you want to know that your credit report is more important than your credit score. Because a lot of people look at it, let me get this certain credit score. Once I have this credit score, I'm going to get approved for this 200,000 or now these days $400,000 house loan. That's not going to happen just because you have a 700 credit score. You want to look at credit. Credit is based off trustworthiness, and it's based off how good your report is. Because you can have a 500 credit score, and I can add you to one or two of my credit cards as an authorized user, and we can jump your score to a 700. That doesn't mean you're going to get approved for that house loan. That doesn't mean you're going to get approved for that credit card. That doesn't mean anything. So you want to make sure your credit report is strong and healthy, because it's different things about credit. You have credit repair, which is removing negative items, removing inaccurate addresses, also known as names, old employers. You have fixing inquiries. That's credit repair, removing the negative items. After you do that, you need to build your credit. And these are adding positive trade line, positive primary accounts to your credit builder accounts. So you want to build that, and that's how you make your profile strong. And then just the 5 steps, easy steps to kind of fix your credit. First, you want to pull your credit report, your FICO report. And like I said, I offer it on my website for $1. It's different, creditreport.com, Experian. After you pull your credit report, you want to see any inaccurate items. With them inaccurate items, you want to put them items into, like I said, ChatGPT. Hey, I have a negative card payment. I have this many late payments. What FCRA, which is Financial Consumer Reporting Act, what laws, consumer laws, protect me against these late payments on my credit report? You put that into ChatGPT right now, it will write you out a dispute letter. Send that dispute letter in, and you'll be able to do that. Drop any utilization. A lot of people don't know just any credit cards you have. Pay down all credit cards to under 10%. That can boost your score 50 to 100 points easily. Build positive trade lines, and then just lastly, be responsible. Pay on time. Credit's not hard to keep together. You just have to know, the factors and what it's based off of.
All right.
If I could just say, Everett, we had a great conversation the other day offline. Happy anniversary again. Um,
Thank you.
but you mentioned, I just have to jump in because Joe mentioned the psychological perspective. So that means starting dedicating every day with your emotional center and then your financial health at the same time. Because if you identify your emotional triggers as well as your investments, that can stop overspending. So whether it be stress or happiness, social influences, or recognizing these triggers can help you develop these strategies to cope without compromising your financial goals. So as you said, it all starts with reps. Do the sets and the reps.
All right.
Conrad,
Understanding,
I'm gonna
definitely.
jump in, Joe.
Mhm.
You two just hit on something. Have anyone noticed that Instagram is the new QVC? Anytime you go on Instagram, they're selling you something. And
True.
all you have to do is click on whatever it is. And I love golf. I get every golf coach, every golf club, every golf apparatus. And it's just
On
so
the
easy to buy. It's the click of a button. As Conrad was saying, self-discipline is very important, especially now because it's the click of a button by your fingertips. The other thing is, Everett, can you talk about debt to equity and what the banks are looking for in the debt to income ratios? That's what it was, debt to income
Yeah,
ratio.
yeah, debt to income. So yeah, you want to watch your debt to income. So you definitely don't want to have too many credit cards. You definitely want to make sure you're not financially you're not maxing out your credit cards, and your debt to income is able for you to get approved. Because like I said, it's not about just a score. Because people think, okay, I got a 700 credit score. That's all I need. They're going to look at your debt to income. They're going to look at your payment history. They're going to look at your credit history. I'm telling you, everything credit is about trustworthiness. If I can't trust you, why would I give you money? And then your trustworthiness is based off how many other banks or how many other companies then lend you money. And that's going to determine how much do I want to give you. Do I want to give you just a little bit? So we definitely want to make sure your debt to income is very important, especially with your credit, and especially with any negative items or any maxed out credit cards or unpaid loans, because them loan balances are terrible. And I know everybody has student loans, but we definitely want to get those together because that can hurt you when you're trying to look to get a home or anything like that.
Right. And I was speaking with someone today, and they made a misstep, and it was a simple misstep because they wanted to take a credit card that they've had for many, many, many years, right? And they want to just close it out for a number of reasons. And when they did that and opened up a new one, it automatically hit their credit score for over 100 points because, again, credit history, as ever stated, is a huge proponent of it, because once you build a history, you don't want to take that history away. So if anything, what you want to do is just take all the money, you can't pay that thing down or get it down. If you want to open a new one, just open a new one. But boy, when you take that one out of the mix, it changes your debt to equity ratio, and it changes that balance.
So if you do open a new card, I would suggest open a transfer balance card. It's where you can transfer the balance from the card that you're currently paying on, where you're worried about interest, to a card that has no interest for about 12 to 18 months. And after you pay that off, you can do it for another card. That's one option, and it's a couple different options. Like I said, I offer free consultations where we can sit down, break down everything on your report, so you can actually just understand credit. Because a lot of when I speak to my clients or speak to different clients, a lot of people don't understand what's on their report, and they'll go years without.
All right. So in the essence of time, let's move this one forward because we want to give Warner an opportunity to share some of his expertise with the audience here. And we're going to start it off a little bit. Again, some of the things that we did during our preparation is we talked about a couple of, strong African American entrepreneurs. Madam C.J. Walker, A.G. Gaston, Reggie L. Lewis, and many others, again, who helped shape basically, Black wealth, in America. And so let's just jump into this thing a little bit, Warner, and talk a little bit about policy as well as, any legal things, because that's your space. And let's break it open with thinking about anything beyond home ownership what other policy-driven things, like reforming tax codes or credit scoring systems, uh, what are most effective, or what can we do to accelerate, wealth building again beyond owning homes and just trying to live within the current tax code?
Oh, well, thank you, Joe, and thank you, brothers, for participating. And let me just say, I was enjoying the discussion myself. You guys hit, what they say, the rubber hit the road there. And so where I'm coming from is more the esoteric 500-foot level on terms of economic policy. Um, to jump into your question, every era has had its own formation of economic policy, which allowed, or in some cases, tried to disallow us as African Americans from experiencing the full measure of wealth, of wealth, of appreciating the wealth growth in this country. And you've mentioned some names, Madam C.J. Walker, Reginald Lewis,
Yep, AG
and
Gaskin.
Mr. A.G. Gaskins, uh, um, who have who've each exemplified, and there were a lot more, many others, but those three exemplified in their eras um, the striving of entrepreneurship to wealth. That's one area where we, as African Americans, have lost focus. we are we've been so trained and groomed, as the new term is, to go work for others to make them wealthy versus working for ourselves to make ourselves wealthy. And the tax code, if you bring that in, the tax code benefits those who own businesses. Therefore, it behooves us to become creators of businesses and make our own wealth. Um, when you work for others, you are actually taxed at a higher rate than the person who owns the business. And then that gets into issues of capital gains tax and carry forward interest. And that's a word that most people in our community don't even realize that exists, the carry forward, where you're not taxed immediately on your gains that you may have produced in whatever transaction you're doing now. Let's say your income tax. So you work for, I don't know, pick a company, they pay you. Well, you have no gains. So, but you're taxed at this astronomical amount. Whereas if I own a business, well, I receive gains and I can defer those gains and pay off a lesser tax scheme down the road. So I'm already ahead of you in terms of this. So that's one thing I would recommend is for us as a people and as organizations to own our own businesses. And it doesn't have to be a hedge fund or an investment bank, but you can own, a Subway restaurant, a neighborhood car mechanic shop or something, and just build from there, scale up from there, and reap the benefits of those uh, uh, of that ownership, because the tax code is geared towards those who create it and those who write it, and usually those are wealthy white men, to be honest with you, in Congress, who skew the system to benefit their personal asset situation and or their friends. So that's the way you and that segues into the way you craft tax policy is getting engaged politically. So the only people that control tax policy are the politicians in Washington. The 435 elected Congress, House of Representatives people, and the 100 senators. So 534 people actually sit down and help create the fiscal tax code. So for you to change that, we as a people need to be more involved politically to have the tax code help support our efforts more. Um, One thing I have to say in terms of business ownership is the people who do go into business there and start their own business, it's just not a side hustle. A lot of us go into businesses and say, "Hey, go into business, say they want to create a business, not to scale it up, but to say, hey, I'm a CEO of something." But it's their side hustle. Hey, and during 9 to 5, they're working for, X hospital or X bank, but they get to say, I'm a CEO of something that's really not producing much. Um, if we as a people are going to take on business ownership seriously, we must put on our big boy pants and big girl panties, um, and go out and really put the time and effort into building a business. And it is tough and it is hard. And a lot of people tap out because they really don't realize how much work and effort that goes into building a solid business with a solid foundation. But believe me, once you put the time and effort and you see it through, trust me, you will be smiling and you will set up dividends for not only yourself, but for your heirs. And that's what it's about, passing on generational wealth um, to, to your heirs, to have them not go through a lot of the economic downturns that we experience or that those ahead of us experienced. Um, in terms of the Federal Reserve, because I know that was on my list of a topic discussion, it is, even though it's an esoteric organization and people hear about it and they really don't know what it is a very important organization that we all should know about. It was created in 1913 by the Federal Reserve Act. So the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated is actually older than the Federal Reserve System of the United States. Um, the mission and mandate is twofold: one, to maximize full employment, and two, to maintain interest rates stability in the country. So those are the two mandates. Sometimes they're in conflict with each other, but that's the dual mandate of the Fed. And another part of the Fed is to help. Mandate is to help with economic development or promote economic development in local communities, and consumer protection as well. The Fed is known as the cop of Wall Street, and they have a big supervisory function to all the major banks in the United States. There are 12 regions. Each region covers all the commercial banks in that area, and they go through what they call stress testing by those banks to make sure that your local bank, whether it's FNB, PNC, Dollar Bank, or whomever, not Dollar, but the non-mutuals, but so PNC, FNB, and JP Morgan, and everyone else you can think of, uh, can handle any type of knock to the environment. So there's not what they call a run on the bank. So if the economy goes down tomorrow, JP Morgan still has your money in their accounts, and you can take it out. So that's why the Federal Reserve Bank's important, but it's also important for us as African Americans to participate in the financial system, to reap gains that Curtis spoke of earlier, to participate in the greater markets. But we also must be careful, and that's where the Federal Reserve comes in as well, because even though the market is still running in a positive position, um, we do always have to consider the fact when the music stops. And although the stock market is still in a rally, there are some that say we may be entering into a bubble. And so we should always be mindful a bubble can hit at any time. But still participate. That doesn't mean not participate. We still must participate for the good and the bad, because over the long term, stocks um, will end up on the positive for you. So that's my presentation overall and how it fits into what we need to do and what to look out for as African Americans from an esoteric, high level view. But the other panelists knocked it out of the park with the rubber on the road about the everyday mechanics of what we should be doing. However, I will add this statistics, which is pretty sad. We as African Americans, um, hello. We really do not have a savings account. So if anything detrimental happens to us, um, we do not, for the most part, have the wherewithal to go to the bank account and say, my car broke down, I need $400 or $700 is the number that it's supposed to be in your account for emergencies. But we don't have the ability, for the most part, as a people, to go to the bank tomorrow. If think about it, if you whatever your individual situation is right now, if you feel that your HVA system, your dishwasher machine, or your car, or whatever it may be, goes down tonight or tomorrow morning, do you think about this? Do you have the wherewithal to go to the bank or wherever you keep your money and pull out at least $700 to get through that situation without touching any other day-to-day living expenses? If you don't, then you need to be real with yourself and start to reflect on what the other three brothers have been teaching us tonight. And
Right.
that's all I have to
And
say.
that's what it's called, our emergency fund. And I talked about it. So here's what we're going to do. In
Yeah.
the essence of time, we have about 11 minutes left. I'm going to take the brothers off of the spotlights here. And we're going to get ready to open it up for questions. Let me get Everett off of spotlight. Okay. And I don't think I ever made the spotlight. So I think we should be good. Hold on, let me make sure Everett is off. All right, so thank you, brothers. I appreciate all of your knowledge that you shared with this with the attendees here this evening. What I want to do, I want to kick it open, throw it open to open the floor. So we have about 10 minutes here. So let's go through some questions. If you have any, we'd love to hear from you. If you
There
can't
was one in the
mute
chat.
yourself, I'm sorry, Curtis.
There's one in the chat, I
Oh,
think.
there's one in the chat.
In
Okay,
the chat.
let me
Yeah.
go there. All right, thank you for alerting me. Great knowledge. Let's see, Jim's. Oh, can you explain what a bubble is as relating to stocks? I think that's what it says. Yeah,
Yeah, I will
stocks. So
take
yeah,
that.
Curtis, go ahead.
So stock market bubble is just a rapid price increase where you see stocks value exceed their underlying fundamental value. So it's driven by speculation and irrational exuberance. So you might see this right now in the AI trend. There's a lot. AI is real. It
Exactly.
exists. But you see a lot of funding in the AI trend, but you also see a lot of debt funding, which is good because if they're using the debt to fund some of these things, that means that it's not just the dot-com bubble. Here is my thoughts on this whole AI trend because I get these questions all the time. Are we near a bubble? Not quite yet. If this was 1998 to 2000 when we seen that dot-com bubble burst, we're like in the mid 1998 version. We're probably 18 months out from a bubble. And you have to understand the stock market takes the steps up, but it takes the elevator down. And when it does, you can blink and you're down. So you want to be well diversified. Very, very easy thing to do is to go into all encompassing ETFs. Vanguard VTI is one I use. It's just all all allocation stocks. But bubbles do happen. Corrections, we're in a slight correction now. They do happen. Just got to be prepared for them.
I would
All
say
right.
tech stocks too.
And tech.
Yep. All right. Hey, Conrad, did you have something? I heard your mic.
A couple of things, absolutely excellent, especially about the reflection on what you're looking for, because financial mindfulness and also the history of your spending provides mental clarity to make decision-making processes possible. Also in tackling debt. So applying this action of mindfulness daily reduces the tendency to do the ostrich effect. Oh my God, I don't know. Let me stick my head in the sand and not look at my credit score. Oh my God, ostrich effect. I need to make this investment, but I'd rather do this. No, face the music. There's 4,000 weeks in your lifetime. Make the right choices.
That's very prudent. Wow. Okay. All right. Any other questions from the floor? We are here. We have again another 6 or 7 minutes left.
I have a comment, Brother Washington.
Yes, Brother Hunt.
Yeah, uh, nice job to the brothers in their various disciplines, and I would say to the audience, when you hear all that you heard tonight, you get overstimulated with choice, and it does boil down to discipline, and it does boil down to the ability to enter the stock market, to understand the esoterical things that the brother mentioned, or it does require mindfulness, and it does require great credit. But I speak to you from someone I think that's gone through a lot of experience with this, and I sort of simplified my approach, and it all boiled down to being disciplined. And I left. I'm retired 7 years, and I had just three simple rules, and this is simple, but it incorporated all that you heard tonight. And it basically was that I just banked 100% of my increase of a salary. Anytime I got an increase in the salary, I banked it. And then, as Brother Washington mentioned earlier, I was the nastiest creditor to myself. I paid myself 10% above my 401k savings, above any other liability. And I lived by that. And then the other thing was I took that zero gain in expenses. I took a duration of 4, 5, 7 years, and I said, I'm not increasing my expenses whatsoever. And through that period, it allowed me to gain the kind of retirement capabilities that I have today, and allowed me to incorporate everything that you're hearing tonight: stock market investments, understanding the quality of credits, the esoteric approach from the economy, and certainly mindfulness. And I say this to all the people in the audience: you got to make the concerted effort. It's not, oh, by the way. You got to give yourself time to understand whatever it is you're looking at, and believe in yourself, because this gap is true. It's real, and it's getting worse. And the final thing I'll say tonight, and I didn't mean to go this deep, but right now, what's going on in America, it's more than the 1889 Red Summer. It's more than the hangings that took place. It's more than making America great again. It's exactly what you think it is. And this is why we've got to be disciplined in what we're doing and pass this on to our kids, and to continue to make sure that we're making every effort that we're going to be someone that's viable in the future of the next 50 or 100 years. Sorry for the long diatribe, but these guys on the board tonight made me motivated to speak. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brother Hunt. All right, so a couple other questions. Let me see if there's any more questions in the chat. Do I increase your expenses through the okay? Yep, I like that. Brother Curtis just said there. All right, any additional questions? So what I've done, I put on the screen here. Can everybody see my screen? Because I put on the screen the contact information for the presenters. Can everybody see that? Nod of head or something or.
Yes, Brother Joe.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to make sure if the audience wants to, personally reach out to anybody that made presentations tonight, your contact information is here for folks to reach out to you. So that is there. And since we only have 2 or 3 minutes before, if we have no other questions, I'm gonna lead us into
We
our.
do have two questions.
Oh,
Two
we
have their
do?
hands up.
Okay, I missed it.
Kathy
Oh, yeah, we got
has
some
her
hands
hand
up.
up.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Let's go to Kathy first. No, I'm sorry. Let's go to Scorpio Collins first because I think you're at the top of the list, so you probably were first in.
Hey, how's it going, brothers? I'm Scorpio Collins, 312 Upsilon Theta. I just want to say a quick just a quick spill before we get off this. By the way, great presentation by all the presenters and everything. Just to pick you off the last brother that spoke about investing. Investing, man, you can make it as simple or as intricate as you want it to be. I know a few years back I started in the stock market with a robo investor called Stash and Acorns. What it pretty much did was take $5 out of my account every week and invest it into some ETFs. And I called it my holiday money. So those $5 over a year, at the end of the year, I probably had maybe I want to say a couple of $100s that I can spend during the holidays. From there I kind of upgraded. I kind of learned the stock market a little more, so now I can manage my own portfolio and my kids' portfolio as well. And now I'm also dabbling in options as well. So it's baby steps you can take to get to the level you want to be at. The hardest thing is just getting started. I know it seems scary and it's a lot of information at once, but again, you can start something small like a robo investor. Again, speaking of discipline, those $5 coming out your account every paycheck won't seem like much, but you'll get to see the potential of investing, through those robo investors. So I just wanted to give that little spill out to everybody that was attending the meeting.
All right, thank you, Brother Carlos. Appreciate that.
Good info. Good info.
All right, Kathy Hampton, question.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to first say thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your talents and your skills with the people who are participating in this Zoom, because you've allowed your God-given talents to be shared, and everyone that's on the line will have that to share with someone else. So all of it multiplies and multiplies in a positive way. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that. The other is that with your accountability partners, and it's important to have an accountability partner, but at the same time, you can't wear your feelings on your sleeve, because that accountability partner may give you some information that you may not want to hear, but it is honest information. They may not have the same blinders on that you do. And so I'm just suggesting with your accountability partners, follow that communication skill that was mentioned. Be an active listener, take it as constructive criticism, not take it personally, and then grow as a result of the input. So I wish all of you on the panel continued success. God bless you all, and thank you for sharing this evening. And Conrad, I'm proud of the job that you've done. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
That's his mom
Thank you,
speaking now.
All right, one more question right now. Marcus Anderson, go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute. My question was it's two-part. First thing, I wanted to just say thank you for the time and effort that you put into the presentation. I do apologize. I'm Marcus Anderson, Spring 15, Upsilon Theta, Beaumont, Texas Qs. Second, I wanted to acknowledge my ADP for the work that he's doing on the credit side. Because of him, I was able to purchase my first home. And with that statement, I wanted to kind of go into the financial discipline portion of it. In buying my home, I was able to, handle all of my bills and things of that nature. However, I don't come from a background where finances is something that's readily discussed. Therefore, there's a ambiguity or a disconnect when it comes to knowledge. So someone in my position, it happens too many times that, all right, we make these investments. Like, I have my home. However, a year after getting my home, I lost my job. So in that situation, how do you then manage remaining disciplined in the savings, remaining disciplined in the stock accounts, remaining disciplined on the future while life happens now?
All right, who wants to take that? Anybody on the panel wants to take it? Because that is reality, right? Brother just hit us with something that it happened to him, so we know it's reality, but it happens to a lot of people in that circumstance. And so, bro, I'll tackle it from this perspective, from my perspective and my own thing. And that's the reason why my partners and I, we wrote, the workbook that we wrote, the family goal planning guide and workbook with the goal planner, is because again was working and continued to work, but had a business that we thought, a coffee and smoothie business in Cincinnati, Ohio, that failed. And with that failing, we had about six figures, a little over $100,000 in debt that landed back on us. And I couldn't just default on the debt because I got the loan through the company that I was working for, the bank that I was working for. So it required me at that point, one, luckily I had a stable, some form of base, and luckily I had some partners to help, but we had to get very creative around how we paid back that debt, which took about 4.5, maybe 5 years to pay it back. But it was a very much so methodical and disciplined approach around every dollar that was being spent within the household. I mean, every dollar, because you just didn't have any extra to kind of move around, right? So, and that was a number of years ago for me,
I'm gonna
but
say,
I'm sorry, Ever. So
no,
that
I'm
was a
sorry, Joe.
number of years ago. But what it allowed me to do, that level of discipline, and I continued to ratchet that after I was able to come out of that crisis, and I kept that same focus, and that's what allowed me to kind of start stacking opportunities to really help start trying to ramp up the wealth part of where I am today. But again, not easy, not simple. It took a lot of hard sacrifices for myself and my family, but was able to kind of move through it.
Brother Joe, can I mention something?
Yeah, you absolutely can.
And brother, I appreciate that question and understand where you're coming from completely. And even we've given all this advice, you have to tailor it to your own situation at that specific time. And if life is really crushing you, where you need to stop putting payments towards savings and put payments toward living day to day, then you do that. You do what you need to do to survive that day and the next day and the next day after. And then once you get back on your feet, then you program yourself to revert back to the savings and the investing and everything, but you do not sacrifice yourself for a savings later. You do what you need to do to survive, to be able to put yourself in a position to, as you have done, to get that home and to move forward. So that's what I would tell you, just as man to man.
Ever.
And lastly, to piggyback off that, because I have been in that position, almost making six figures and losing my losing being laid off from a company. So first, I would say, since you learned that position, and this is what I teach with credit, you need to have different income, because it don't matter how much money you make with one income. If you don't own that company or that company is not yours, you can be gone like that. So this is about having different incomes, and this is about having your credit together, because it's nothing, like I said, having bad credit is more expensive. It's nothing like being able to walk into the bank and get a loan, or having a LLC and being able to use other people's money, which is using these banks' money and having capital to invest. Because we all have ideas, we all have investments, but we might not all have the capital on hand. So I would say, from that situation, you learn that you need assets and you need more forms of income rather than just that one job. And these can be assets that you are spending less time on, and these are assets that are making money while you're asleep. So that's what I would suggest, just being in that situation before and overcoming that and
Thank you.
understanding.
This is Brother Hunt. The young brother that spoke from was made in Texas. You lost your job. Did you lose your home yet?
I didn't lose my home.
You did not.
So I
That,
did not lose my home.
Oh, we're talking about that. Yeah.
By the grace of by
that's the
the
one.
grace of God, I was able to, find another job, and I'm able to pay my bills now. However, now I'm paying for everything that I had to do to get to this point to where I can afford where I'm living and not have to worry about the bills.
You just explained how strong you are in your character.
That's right.
And to take one more step here, amazing what you're doing. You are in the crunch as a retired corporate banker, investment banker. You go to the bank. You go to the bank and you say, I want to make an adjustment. I don't want to create a bad credit. You go to the bank and you meet with them. Let's adjust this mortgage. 80% of the time, they'll hear you. You go in there and explain what happened, because today there's a lot of people losing their jobs and they don't want a bad credit. I don't know if you tried that, but that's one move you can make.
All right,
I
brother.
did try going through my mortgage company. However, my mortgage company denied it in Texas, or it may be nationwide. Who knows? I was a first time home buyer and my home is at 7%. That's quite high for a house. So that's kind of the battle of why the mortgage is so high.
Whoever originated your mortgage might have sold it to a third
Yes.
party. That's okay. That's more difficult.
Yeah, Marcus, I would say, and
Yeah.
offline, I can kind of get you in contact with Brother Hunt, and
Yeah.
maybe you can send me advice and everything.
Right. Because I
Be
know
more than happy to
we are
talk to you.
past time. So I do want to be respectful for not only the presenters, but also the attendees. And there's one additional slide in here, and this goes back to gravitating to something positive, right? Gravitating. Can you guys see my last slide here where it has a four positive affirmations on the screen? Okay.
Yeah, Joseph.
I got it. So what I would like to do before we conclude tonight's call is to not only just look at these words on the screen, but let's recite these. And then once we recite these, I'm going to say thanks everybody for coming out. But if we can just start with the first one, because if we can program ourselves to say positive things, even in the midst of the battle, we are 100% ahead of where we were. All right. So let's just start with the first one. I am worthy of financial success and prosperity. Again, we can speak it out loud, guys. And let's go to the next one. I release all fear and anxiety about money. And next, I am deserving of all the abundance life has to offer. And last but not least, I can overcome any financial obstacle that gets in my way. And so, again, very much so positive and aspirational opportunities here that we just recited. So if we can just keep that type of positive energy moving through ourselves, we're going to be in a better place, not only today, but also tomorrow. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and showing up on this virtual event. Again,
Great job,
thanks to the presenters. You guys did a phenomenal job. So we appreciate you and all the attendees. We probably will not have another financial literacy workshop before the end of the year. So again, have a happy and safe Thanksgiving, as well as happy holidays to you over the December time frame. And hopefully we'll be back into your space with another financial literacy workshop in either January or February of the new year. Thank you again, and everybody have a great evening. Good night.
Good evening. Good night. Bye.
Joe, we staying on or we off?
No, we can bounce. Everybody can shut down. That's great. Thank you.